me to open the meeting and for us to elect a chair because he will not be here tonight. So nominations are open for a chair. Eva?
I'd like to nominate Joel Maxwell to serve as chair. Does that need a second?
Second.
Yes.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? If not, do I hear a motion to elect Joel by acclamation?
I'll move.
All right, Joe. Oh.
All in favor?
All in favor? I assume that. Don't assume anything these days.
If that's the way I get elected in, this could go well. So now I'll call the meeting to order, and we will, I don't know if he had contacted anybody about prayer and pledge. Is anybody on the list for that? If not, would anyone like to volunteer? Okay. JP Dennis.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you this time. We ask that you just be with us this morning, help us to make wise and good decisions that will benefit Washington County. We pray that you just be with our country, be with the leaders of our country and the leaders of our county and all of our Washington County employees. These things we ask and pray in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as printed. All in favor? All opposed? The agenda has been adopted. At this point, we're going to make some time for citizens' comments. So if anyone here that wants to share a thought on our agenda tonight, please feel free to come to the well. If you would just identify yourself.
Okay. My name is Bill Groom. I'm mayor in Greenland, and I'm here to talk about the open space feasibility study that's on the agenda for later on. I'm a fellow elected official, just like you guys are. Been that way for 16 years. Did school board, city council, now mayor for 7 years. Every one of those entities, when a new subject came up, the first question is asked, what's it going to cost us? Second one is what's it going to do for us? This feasibility study that we're looking at tonight, the answer to the first question, what's it going to cost? Zero. What's it going to do for us? It's going to give us access to information tailored to our region, where we can make more informed decisions as we go down the road on this thing. That's a significant upside with no downside at all. Deals like that don't come around every day. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Can I ask the mayor a question, please?
Absolutely. Mr. Mayor, would you care to come back?
Oh, sure. When somebody puts land into that process, who maintains that land, takes care of it?
That's I'm just the mayor. I don't. I know who it is.
Now, if you're going to inform
Terry Lane is the expert on that, and
who? Okay.
Terry Lane. I don't see her here tonight, but it's as inept as I am in answering the question. She can do it. so you can get the information.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's an important issue about
it is
whether we're going to have to take care of that land.
Maintenance is. I think they try to incorporate 5% of the purchase price into maintenance, and they just dedicate that in maintenance and sit it in the bank. It sits there. So
now, is this land donated or purchased?
There's a myriad of ways to go.
Okay.
Yeah, you can donate it. You put a conservation easement on it, so it's going to stay the same. And the folks who live there can live there as long as they want to.
But
Okay, that's all I had.
it's an economic driver in the long run. But this feasibility study is what's on tonight's agenda, and it's just a step toward getting more information. That's the key to that thing. And it's, again, I don't want to wear it out, but it's not going to cost you or Washington County residents anything.
Well, we've read a lot of details on here about a lot of people endorsing this program, but that has not been answered to my satisfaction, and so I'd like to know a little bit more about what's taking place.
Okay. Well, it's a long process.
Yep.
So we're maybe halfway there.
Okay,
maybe not that much, but
thank you.
Your questions will be answered. I guarantee that. That it?
Thank you, sir. We'll try to preserve the rest of our public comment time here, and then we'll have a chance to discuss that a little further as we get into it. So anyone else want to make a public comment?
John Pennington, Beaver Watershed Alliance. Members of the Quorum Court, first I want to thank you for your time and valued service to Washington County. I'm a former extension agent for Washington County, and water quality was the topic that I worked with. Back when I started, the growth of urban areas into the rural areas created some urban fringe issues. What resulted from that was the realization that we need to keep some of our country as we grow, so that we maintain all of the water quality and quality of life and economic growth and development that currently is made possible from Beaver Lake, for example. And so along those lines, investing in the open space process by accepting a study to give you more information about your options, I think is a wonderful opportunity, and just encourage you guys to follow through with that. And would just like to remind you that your investment of $29,000 into the Beaver Watershed Alliance over the past 3 years has resulted in about a 400% return to Washington County, with federal and state dollars to take care of resources. And so this open space plan would be a similar investment. And I want to thank you again for your time and leadership in the county.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comments? All right. This time we'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes from
I
our
have
last
read
meeting.
them and I move approval.
Okay. Do we have a second? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Minutes are approved. J.P. Madison.
I'd like to move that we suspend the rules and read the ordinances tonight by title only.
Second. Have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. With that, we'll turn to Mr. Roush, J.P. Roush, for resolution or item number 6.
We have a resolution that's being brought to us tonight, and so I don't misstep and say anything out of line. The Chamber of Commerce from Springdale has asked Drew Williams to do the introduction and introduce the resolution for us.
Absolutely. Mr. Williams.
Drew?
Good evening. Thank you for your time and your service here in Washington County. I am a project manager with the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, and this is a tax back resolution that's before you, and it is in support of Waco Title, which is building a headquarters here in your county. This resolution will help them with some of their investment. What it is it gives them the ability to recoup some of the local and state taxes back from the capital investment that they are spending. Now, this is only money that they spend in your county, and it's only a percentage that they spend in the county. So the state abates 5.5% of the 6.5% of sales and use taxes, so it's only on sales and use tax. So this is strictly just the purchase of materials, building materials, so hard assets that they will spend on this project. So this is the resolution before you, and I appreciate your consideration.
J.P. Harbison.
How many new jobs is this going to create?
We anticipate up to 50 jobs is what they've applied for, and it's about a $4 million investment.
Any other questions? Can you tell us what percentage of the use tax is going to go back to Waco in this agreement?
That's a good question. So we have in-plan models that usually kind of put estimates in the ballpark of about 40% of what they spend. Now that typically is only on the materials that they purchase in the county, in the city, in the state. So you can see it kind of gets smaller and smaller as you go down by jurisdiction. So the state has the 5.5%. Then you have a county and then a city tax as well that goes back. So we estimate 40%. Typically, that's the very tip, the very highest point that they would get back. So it's usually lower than that because typically when you source building materials, you can't source everything within your county or your city or your state. So there are some products that are purchased outside which would not be a part of this.
Thank you. Any other questions? Entertain a motion to act on 6.
So moved.
Oh, we got to read it. Sorry. We get ahead of ourselves.
A resolution of the Quorum Court of Washington County certifying local county government endorsement of Waco title to participate in the Consolidated Incentive Tax Back Act of 2003.
Move to pass.
Second.
Move to pass and second. Any citizens' comments? Thank you. And is this a 3 read? No, just 1. Okay. All right. Would you call the roll?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kicklack.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
All right. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Move to item number 7. J.P. Harbison.
Would the person from Ozark Regional Planning Board, if you're present, come speak to this, and then I'll discuss it. I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
That's right. Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Bowen with the Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning Commission. We are a commission or a council of local governments, so we have the representative of the Benton and Washington County judge and the 32 mayors that I support as a staff member. And I'm here tonight to talk to you about the feasibility study for the Northwest Arkansas Open Space Plan. So I came last week, or September 5th, and presented a presentation that talked about the plan, what the plan was meant to do, and we talked about the implementation of the plan. And this is one of the first steps, was to create an agreement with an organization like the Trust for Public Lands to look at the feasibility of sustainable funding for the Northwest Arkansas Open Space Plan. So we have obtained funding through a grant from the Nature Conservancy and the Doris Duke Foundation, and with those funds we are required to have a technical assistance letter in order for those funds not to be considered lobbying funds if this measure went past this first step. So we would like to request that the county judge be allowed to sign that letter, and that's what we're here tonight to request, that recommendation on your behalf.
I recognize. Yeah.
J.P. Madison.
I would move that we give our support to the county judge signing the letter that Ms. Bowen has requested.
Second.
Any comments or questions? J.P. Harbison.
They already have the money to do this, and it's our responsibility to give them the opportunity to go and do this. Whether we agree or disagree with what they're doing, they have the money to do it. They have to have our approval to do it. Thank you.
J.P. Bowen.
Can you answer the question that the mayor didn't know the answer to?
I can. It would depend on the property that was being put into open space. So if it was the property that was being donated, it would be the organization that was going to accept that donation. It could be a federal, state, or local nonprofit that would be accepting that property. Same with an easement. You'd have to have the organization that's going to accept that easement and manage that easement. Example would be the Northwest Arkansas Land Trust that the mayor mentioned. We have the Ozark Regional Land Trust. We have the Nature Conservancy. Quite a number of local organizations that can accept
those donations.
Put easements on property for conservation efforts.
So it won't be any cost to the county then for maintenance or taking care of these places.
That is correct, unless the county decided to accept those properties.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Attorney Lester, would you care to read 7.1?
Oh, it's not an ordinance.
Okay. Okay, just a resolution? Perfect. Any citizens' comments? Okay. In that case, we can do a all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
Okay. It carries. We will move on to 8.1. Attorney Lester, would you read that one?
Yes. An ordinance creating the Washington County Criminal Justice Coordinating Board.
So I'll just give you a little bit of background on this one. All of us banded together in Northwest Arkansas to request that the state grant us a crisis stabilization unit. I know we've been through that several times, so I will not rehash that. But one of the factors that the state legislature put into place was that there is a consulting or governing body, if you will, or board to help with that, and it's represented from across law enforcement, our prosecuting attorney, et cetera, everybody that would be affected by the folks that would be part of this crisis stabilization unit. So this is actually going through the process of granting Judge Wood the ability to form this board and then for them to carry out what the state has asked us to do. So we're kind of just going through what they've asked us in the original legislation. So does anybody have any questions about that? We do have some folks here that can help us with some answers if anybody has questions about this board or this ordinance.
Justice Maxwell, I'd like to hear from Ms. Nancy Kohanek, if we could.
Absolutely.
This is part of her brainchild and her baby, and it's here.
I know. I just want to say thank you to all of you who supported this over the past several years, and we're pretty excited. And, of course, now the real work begins because it's going to be an expensive proposition. It's going to be such a cooperative proposition. So I don't know if you all have questions about it. There are a lot of things that are still up in the air as far as we're not even... The state asked us to have it ready by November. But, you know, we're so far from that maybe next November.
I think we're changing gears from I hope we can get this to, oh, no, we got it. Now how do we do this?
Yeah, exactly, Joel.
But I'm very happy with the opportunity, and I also want to recognize the CEO of Ozark Guidance is here, Dr. Laura Tyler. So she's going to be very involved in this as well, and I'm glad she's here to answer any questions. If we have, we can always refer to her, too. First of all, I got J.P. Lundstrom. Thank you.
I understand this is being done by the state. Are they actually paying for it, or are they just organizing it?
I would expect that question from you.
You've got it.
And I appreciate that from you very much. No, it's $1.4 million, but it doesn't really cover, as I understand it, Dr. Tyler might know better than me, but it's mostly for staff and that type of thing, getting it all set up. Is that right? So we're having to find ways of making it happen. As far as we have to, wherever we end up having it placed, we'll have to fund it. And then we hope that it's sort of like a fire station. You know, you're paying for the fire station regardless of what happens, but there are those month-to-month costs. So we're not certain that...
Well, I asked the question because we've had a considerable amount of experience with things the state is going to finance that somehow end up not being financed and get sent our way.
Yes, sir.
I could name 5 or 6 instances as we're sitting here. I won't do that and waste the time, but I am concerned about how it's going to be financed, and I'm not opposed to the issue, but we're having to operate on a very tight budget.
Yes, I know that.
And it's getting worse year by year. So it is a matter of concern to me.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all.
I will also add to that, part of this, once these folks become patients at the Crisis Stabilization Unit, their insurance is in place, so this will not all have to be funded from a central location. It will work like a clinic or an inpatient unit, sort of. They are giving us the money to get started, but it will have some of its own revenue generation as well.
We'll generate the rest of it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think the state is the one handing out the money, as far as I understand, with these grants. But the other part of that is we end up paying for these customers, I think is the right word, I guess, one way or the other. Sometimes our sheriff gets to house them at his facility. Our courts get to process them. The ERs get to maintain them for a while, et cetera. So we're really just trying to put these folks in a more specific location where what they actually need can be addressed. If many of you remember when we watched a video from the Sheriff's Department about a year ago where there was one of the inmates that actually attacked one of the detention officers and knocked him out and beat him up a couple of times. And that was a patient who was actually probably more of a mentally ill patient than a criminally he may have had some criminal charges too, I don't remember. But that's the kind of things that we're trying to address, is to keep our law officers safe, to put them in the right treatment. And if they haven't done something that's so egregious that requires law enforcement and detention, that we have another outlet. And it is cost savings as well, because if we put them in the right spot, sometimes we can take care of that issue rather than housing them for a long period of time at our expense. So that's another place where it's not a specific revenue generator, but it is a revenue avoider, I guess, if that's a technical term.
It should save the county, the jail and the county money, because not as many people would be incarcerated. They'll be given the proper treatment.
J.P. Eckes?
I believe J.P. Estrie had a question before I did. He raised his hand before I did.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. How will the board be selected? Who will select the board, and how will it be selected? And will the terms be alternating terms?
It's spelled out in the ordinance. The county judge will actually pick those, but where they come from is kind of dictated there. Consist of local judges, local corrections officials, the prosecuting attorney, law enforcement officials, county officials, medical professionals, and mental health professionals. That's in Article 2 of 8.1.
I just didn't see where it specified who was going to be the person to do that. That was my question.
Yeah.
Can you see what I said? I mean, it doesn't say, at least I don't see where it says that the judge is the one who does that. I'm just wondering how that's selected. And that's one of those things, I'm sure, as we move forward, that, but that is a question that I have. Thank you.
I thought it was the judge, but it's not stated in there.
It is at 7:05. So if you read it, it says that there'll be, I believe. Sorry. Yeah, it's Article 1 talks about the appointment in accordance to 705 of state code, and that state statute prescribes that any advisory board or commission like this committee created by the Quorum Court, that the county judge is the one that nominates all positions on that.
Okay. And a little bit of clarification around that is we are doing this jointly with Benton County and Madison County. We're doing this as Northwest Arkansas, but a county judge had to be selected as the awardee and the one that's administering this. Obviously, this would be difficult to do with 3 different counties, so we've consolidated, and Judge Wood will be the one taking care of it. JP Ecke.
Thank you. Ms. Gannick, when you first brought this to our attention, you traveled to San Antonio, Bexar County, and you saw a wonderful model, and yet everybody there was advised, do not use us as your template, because you cannot cookie cut what we're doing here with the successes that Bexar County is experiencing. However, would they offer up recommendations, or could you go back and look at the financial structure and everything that they're doing there,
Absolutely.
perhaps to navigate through where we need to be with a lot more efficiencies? And
Yes, ma'am. Exactly. And there's also a crisis center in Sapulpa, Oklahoma, which is really well thought of, too, and it's close by. And the CEO over there is really glad to help out. And Dr. Tyler has also been involved with crisis stabilization unit before. So I think that will help us greatly.
Are there any grant monies available to your, would there be?
Not that we know of right now, but we're going to explore every avenue for funding, definitely.
I know if Justice Maxwell said if we could use different approaches or different vehicles to get there, so that's not such a strain on one particular bus.
Right. I mean, and we've got the Walton Family Foundation. This is something that's so important for the community, and I think that there are probably those kinds of organizations that would want to have a hand in it. But we're just not at that point yet, because we have to get things more stabilized, like what is our plan, what exactly will it look like, before we can move forward and say, this is what we have, and would you be interested in
So there are other models then out there to help you
Yes, ma'am.
expedite that process?
There are.
Okay.
And Arkansas has actually had crisis stabilization units before. So some of these that are awarded are actually, they're redoing their old crisis stabilization unit. The funding went away. There was an issue a while back, several years ago. So this is, thankfully, we're not reinventing all of this wheel, and this is nationwide as well already. So.
Right.
Anyone else? J.P. Bowman. Excuse me.
Well, from what I understand, the state was going to issue a $1.5 million grant.
1.4.
1.4. Okay. Well, now that's operating. That's for operating costs only, isn't it?
I thought it was for. Is that right?
Well, it is for starting the organization. There are certain things that the money cannot be spent on. So it cannot be spent on like renovation, for example, but it could be spent to staff or to provide medical supplies or staff of pharmacy. So it's mostly about direct patient care that the money can be expended.
Well, from what I remember, I think Springdale's Hospital was one that's going to be going to these patients, and there's going to be probably have to be renovation of that facility, and I expect there's going to be considerable expense involved in that kind of renovation. And I guess the thing I don't want to see us commit to, as J.P. Lundstrom referred to earlier, our budgets are pretty doggone difficult right now.
Yes.
And I don't want to see us commit to something out here that we don't know what the costs are going to be. And you guys come back in here and ask us for a ton of money to do renovation, and we're already strapped. So I'd sure like to have clarification on any potential expenses to the county for implementing this thing.
Right now, there isn't anything, but of course, we're at the beginning stages. So, but we plan to keep you all in the loop, definitely. The judge is in on it very much, and as soon as he came on board, he started being involved. So you should be informed every step of the way.
Well, I guess, like J.P. Lundstrom said, sometimes we're finding out some of these grants come with all kinds of hooks in them.
Right.
And we're learning after this fact about these hooks. And it's not much fun to find out about the small print after we've already committed.
Right.
I'm supportive of the idea. I think it's great to get the mentally ill out of the jails, but I'm still concerned about finances on this whole thing, too.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Can I entertain a motion to pass
I'd like
8.1?
to make a motion to pass 8.1, and it is to establish a criminal justice board.
Yes.
Not for funding, just for the board.
Okay. Ms. Patty? Go. Citizen comments. Let me stop there. See if there's any public comments. Okay. Okay. Okay.
So it just suspend the rules?
Yep. Entertain a motion to suspend the rules to only read it by title only 3 times tonight. Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Attorney Lester?
An ordinance creating the Washington County Criminal Justice Coordinating Board.
Entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Move to suspend the rules and read other times by title only.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Attorney Lester?
An ordinance creating the Washington County Criminal Justice Coordinating Board.
Now entertain a motion to pass 8.1. Thank you. Ms. Patty, would you call the roll?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Essery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kicklack.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
This is passed. J.P. Dennis with item number 9.1.
I really appreciate having the computers. I do have to remember to scroll back to the right page. So they're very nice. So thank you, Lisa, John Adams, and Jennifer Price. Attorney, would you read the...
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Section 2.7-30.
This is, I'd like to speak to it just a little bit. It's confinement of an animal when a person is bitten. It's not just any animal. And I misread that at first, and I was concerned about the 10-day. We tabled that part concerning other animals. But this is about animals who bite. And we changed some of the wording of the ordinance. And so that's what this is about. So I would move that we accept 9.1.
Second.
And so, can't make one to suspend the rules too.
Yeah, we'll start with a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only 3 times tonight.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Attorney Lester.
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Section 2.7-30.
Move that we suspend the rules.
Okay.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Attorney Lester.
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Section 2.7-30.
Okay. I want to pause here and just see if there are any questions or any discussion regarding this now. Okay. Any public comment?
You have to read it first.
You just read it, didn't you? I read it. Yep. Okay.
I move that we pass 9.1.
Okay. Ms. Patty, would you call the roll?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Essery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kicklack.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
That carries. J.P. Bill Essery with item number 10.
Thank you very much. Item number 10 it's an ordinance that what we're doing is that we're changing for the planning planning department what we're charging the various people. As we reviewed the ordinances, we realized that we are way behind where everybody else is, and this is just to bring us in line. And it won't even bring us in line in many cases. We'll still be below everybody else, but we're just trying to balance things out. And so that's kind of what's precipitated this. So if you would mind reading this for us, please, Mr. Lester.
And just to remind you, this is on the third and final reading for this particular ordinance. An ordinance amending Washington County Code Section 11-76.
So I move that we pass this.
Okay. Any comments? J.P. Pond.
Yes, sir. I would like to give a little input on this. There is documentation that anyone can look and see. These fees are badly needed to help cover expenses for the ongoing process of development at the planning office. We got a choice here of either getting caught up on helping cover these expenses that our county employees are going out and taking part in. What they have to do to get a development approved, we either do it this way as other folks do, or what we're doing is just passing that cost on along to the taxpayers of Washington County. They're not necessarily involved in this new development. So obviously, I am for making this increase to put this back on the developer, as opposed to the citizens of Washington County, the residents of Washington County. Thank you.
Anybody else? J.P. Madison. By the way, I see Mr. Kimbrough's here, so if we have any questions, do you care to come up and be ready to answer some?
I just have a comment.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a comment on item 8. That seems to me to be an awfully low fee for doing any kind of inspection out in the county. I think we'll lose money on that one. I mean, just travel time. And I don't know what all you inspect in a gated community, but at least the gate, maybe. So I'm fully supportive of this, but I just wonder if we're going to lose money on that one. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Kimbrough, would you like to speak to that?
I'm not familiar with ever even doing one for a gated community, and that one is pretty low. Let me give you just a real quick background. When we were creating our budget for this year, Chief Gales worked with us, and we got our 3% reduction like we needed, but we also kind of looked at some other areas. Maybe we could think about trying to cover our cost. My operating budget for 2018 will be about $83,000, and that's the operating part now, not any of the payroll. And I'm looking at, if I adjusted these fees as I've asked for here, I can probably double what we've collected, and it'll be about $23,000. So I can impact my operating part of my budget by about a fourth. That's why I looked at the fee increase mainly. We'd already secured the commitment for the 3% reduction. And I've given you a pretty thick folder there of stuff, and I'll go through any of it that you like, but it's mainly just to give you a visual kind of really what the dollars are. And if you want to just, well, any other questions, and then we can kind of work into that if we want to. What other questions can I answer about it? I'm sorry?
Do you want me to answer that one about the inspection on the subdivision?
Well, it was actually about a gated community. Yes, sir.
All right. If there are no questions, excuse me? Okay. I think they were just deciding if there was a misunderstanding about this $25 fee, what kind of subdivision we were talking about.
Yeah, it's a gated community, and I've seen one of those in 9 months.
There are no other. Okay. J.P. Bowman.
Thank you, sir. I'd like Mr. Gales to come forward and talk to us about some of the costs. I think he's looked at some of these costs of what it really costs to get out there and do some of these inspections. And I'd like to ask him some questions about this whole thing.
Okay. Good evening, gentlemen and ladies.
We got a lot of activities in town today.
Well, Chief, I know you're a numbers guy.
Well, I've known to figure a few things.
Yeah, right. Well, I'd like for you to give me an idea about what our county costs are on some of these inspections and meeting the requests of developers.
Well, they're sort of way out of line of what we charge for a fee, but we also are doing this for our entire citizens. A TAC review meeting involves our planning department, the fire marshal, the environmental department, the road department, and our consultant engineer. Well, when you add those together and you spend about an hour right off the bat before we ever get out of the gate, we're spending about $500 to $1,000, depends on how long this particular person takes up our time. This last 2 days ago, we had a gentleman that challenged our engineering because before you get to the TAC meeting, every one of these departments reviews the plans and specs. So they spend an hour or so, and these are our people, and looking to try to protect our citizens. So that's another $500 or so you're spending. So you're up to around $1,000, and you just got to the TAC review meeting. We got a challenge. The engineer spent 2 or 3 hours trying to figure out a drainage study. Charles and Brad and myself went out and looked at it. So that's another cost. These costs are astronomical, and we haven't even got to the Planning Commission yet. We go to the Planning Commission, and if they kick back, then our crew has to go back out. So these are about $500 costs every time they come back. On the one really debatable one we've had, which is out here next to Beaver Lake and a lot of things, we've had 10 reviews. Some of those meetings I've spent 2 hours in with the engineers trying to get them to ever come to volition and agree with us that this is a problem with our water quality. So I think that the fees that we're trying to increase to is just very minimum to cover what we're doing as a service. And I agree that this is part of our volition and a part of our mandate to provide these services. But we need to be realistic about what it's costing us to perform on all of our services in all of our departments. And as we go into the budget, this is a time to look at those things.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? All right. I have a motion to pass 10.1. So do we have a motion? You want to be first? Okay.
Second. For the increase.
Okay.
This is necessary and needs to be done. Thank you.
Any public comments? Ms. Patty, would you call the roll?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison. Joe Kicklack.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
No.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
All right. And it passes. JP Esri for item number 11.1.
Thank you very much. Item 11.1 is just the main thing here is the result of, again, reviewing the ordinances, bringing them up to date. We've changed the language just a little bit, and we've made some slight adjustments to accommodate where we're at and hopefully where we need to be. And so I move that we pass.
I think we'll have to read this 3 times.
3.1. I also ask that we suspend the rules and read it 3 times.
By title only?
By title.
Okay. A second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We'll let Attorney Lester read it the first time.
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Section 3-1.
Move to suspend the rules and read it another time by title only.
Second.
Attorney Lester? Nope. All in favor? I'm going to get fired. Maybe that's what I'm after. All opposed? All right, Attorney Lester.
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Section 3-1.
Move to pass as read.
Okay. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I move that we suspend the rules and read it for a third and final time.
Okay. All in favor? All opposed? All right. Attorney Lester.
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Section 3-1.
Now, any discussion? J.P. Madison.
Move to pass.
Okay.
Second.
Miss Patty, would you call the roll? Oh, public comment. Sorry. I am going to get fired. Perfect. Miss Patty, would you call the roll?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devons.
Yes.
Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison. Joe Kicklack.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
This is. Yeah, I don't think it is. Okay. J.P. Madison, 12.1. That's going to be 3 times.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. The first appropriation ordinance we have from the Finance Committee is an ordinance changing the title of HEO 1 in the Road Department budget and Deputy Clerk, Circuit Clerk 1 in the Circuit Clerk's budget. This is a not costing money, but it's a budget amendment because we're changing the titles to elevate 2 positions. So there's not a cost to it, but it's a budget amendment. So this is an appropriation ordinance and only needs to have 1 vote. So I would move to pass 12.1.
Second.
Any discussion? Public comment? Miss Patty, would you call the roll? Oh, would you read it?
I read it.
Read it again?
I mean, I essentially read it if you don't.
That's all right.
Miss Patty?
I read it.
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devons.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kicklack.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
And it carries. Miss Madison, item number 14.
Would you read this one, Mr. Lester, please?
Yes. An ordinance recognizing additional revenues of $31,167 in the JDC Grant Fund and appropriating $31,167 from the JDC Grant Fund to the Juvenile Detention Center Grant and Aid 2017-2018 budget for 2017.
So we're getting grant money and appropriating it back out for the JDC Grant Fund. I would move to pass 13.1.
Any discussion? J.P. Esri.
What exactly is this for? What are we going to do with this money?
I would ask Jeannie Mack to come forward so that she can give us more information. I'm very glad you're back there.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a grant that all the juvenile detention centers receive, and it's a formula based on how many beds you have. And it's a supplement to material supplies. You can buy a vehicle or you can pay for personnel. It's left to the director of how they want to disperse the money. So we just do it all the way through the line items.
Okay, that sounds very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Any public comments? Miss Patty, would you call the roll?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devons.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kicklack.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
J.P. Madison.
Mr. Lester, would you read 14.1?
An ordinance transferring monies of $12,307 within the Drug Court Accountability Budget in the Drug Court Grant Fund for 2017.
This is simply moving money from one line item to another, which ordinarily wouldn't require an ordinance, but because it's coming out of salaries, it does require that. So I would move to pass 14.1.
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comments? Ms. Patty, would you call the roll?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devons.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kiklak.
Yes.
Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
That brings us to item 15, J.P. Madison.
15.1 actually has an error that we need to correct. The amount shown for this grant for the law enforcement fund should actually be $14,024 rather than the slightly larger amount shown. If I'm going to call that a Scrivener's error.
Scrivener's error.
And so if Mr. Lester would read the title with that amendment.
An ordinance anticipating additional revenue of $14,024 in the Law Enforcement Grant Fund for 2017 and appropriating $14,024 from the Law Enforcement Grant Fund to the 2017 JAG grant budget.
Thank you. I'd move to pass 15.1.
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comments? Ms. Patty?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devons.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kiklak.
Yes.
Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
It carries. Item 16, J.P. Madison.
Mr. Lester, if you'd read 16.1 by title only.
An ordinance recognizing additional revenues of $5,000 in the Animal Shelter Grant Fund and appropriating $5,000 from the Animal Shelter Grant Fund to the Animal Shelter budget for 2017.
This is an appropriation ordinance. I'm not sure it's marked that way, but it is. But this is $5,000 that was given to the animal shelter that we are just appropriating. So I would move to pass 16.1.
Any discussion? Public comments? Ms. Patty, would you call the roll?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devons.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kiklak.
Yes.
Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
And it carries. Item number 17, Ms. Madison.
Mr. Lester, would you read 17.1 by title only?
An ordinance transferring $4,261 from the road fund to the FEMA fund for 2017.
I'm testing my memory, but Mr. Gales is here. I think this was for the Dye Creek Bridge.
Yes, it is.
Okay. It's just paying for something that, some work on that. So I would move to pass 17.1.
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comments? Just keep holding out hope y'all have something to say along here. Miss Patty, would you call the roll?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devons.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kiklak.
Yes.
Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
And it carries. The last one is item 18, J.P. Madison.
Mr. Lester, would you read 18.1 by title only?
An ordinance appropriating the amount of $50,000 from the Flexible Spending Fund to the Flex Spending Budget for 2017.
And Mr. Watson is here. If you have questions, I'm going to direct them to him, but I would move to pass 18.1.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Second.
Any public comments? All right. Miss Patty, would you call the roll?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush. Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devons.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kiklak.
Yes.
Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Because he would have done it in his judge's report since he's not here.
Okay, can we do that? Okay. This time we're going to hear our committee reports. So we'll start with you, J.P. Bowman.
No meeting to report.
Okay. J.P. Dennis.
We, excuse me, we tabled one on the 10 days on the animals. So we did table that, and I don't know procedurally when we have to have another meeting. If we don't have any other business besides that, do we want to put it off? I would think that we would not want to come back together just for one thing. So we won't have another meeting unless something big comes up. Thank you.
Excellent.
Another meeting this month.
J.P. Ecke.
The Personnel Committee did meet this month, and I want to say thank you to Justice Madison for moving forward some of the requests that the judge made during our JSAP meeting, and to apologize to the committee. I had an allergy space head moment where you just kind of get disconnected and you don't remember what you're talking about. And that's what happens. Yeah, that's why I didn't call on you. But as far as I remember, we did have the circuit clerk. We did approve his two positions. Angela Wood in the collector's office has two positions that we approved of, but these are going to be funded through their automated funds. And then, of course, the judges' positions were approved by the Budget and Finance, because I adjourned the meeting when I shouldn't have. But anyway, and I want to say good job in conducting this meeting, and this is what happens when we hash everything out in committee meetings. So it's good quorum court meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Jail and law enforcement did not meet due to lack of an agenda, and I just want to commend, I think we're doing a really good job this year of being efficient with our meetings. We know those cost the county every time we have one, and I think that's what we're here for, is to conduct the county business, but I also think we've been very good about managing these meetings and not having one just to have a meeting and being efficient. So I think we're, although our budget is not the biggest line item for the county, I think it's wise that we are keeping it as small as we possibly can, so kudos to you guys. So, J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. The bulk of what we did at the regular finance budget meeting was already approved tonight, but we did also begin the work on the actual budget for next year. It was an informative session where information on revenue and requested budgets was shared with the committee, and didn't make any decisions. But I did want to, I know people are curious about meetings that are scheduled. Unfortunately, I know some people had conflicts, but the meetings on the 26th and the 28th are going to stick there because there were some scheduling conflicts for the folks that need to come. So we will have on the 26th at 5:30 a meeting to discuss employee raises, the quorum courts budget, because I think most of us know the judge is encouraging us to look more closely at our meetings and consider our budget. We will discuss, Ms. Patty, you may have to help me. I'm totally spacing out. Budget controls, quorum court budget. There's something else. Why am I? Oh, the elected official salaries because of the change from 2-year terms to 4-year terms. So, and then, I'm sorry, Blair Johansson will give his annual presentation on sort of the state of salaries to inform our decision on employee raises. Okay, that's it. And I didn't take any allergy medicine. I have no defense. We will then, that Thursday, the 28th, we'll meet at 5:30 with all of the sheriff's budgets coming from his office. And that will be the focus of that meeting because of the number of budgets he has and some of the significant issues that he's asking us to consider. We will not have a meeting the next week because I know I already scheduled enough meetings while J.P. Ecke will be gone. So I was going to give her a pass that next week. So that takes us then to our regularly scheduled October budget finance meeting on October 10th. And I'm going to, I expect to have a light finance agenda, so we will use that as a budget meeting. And from there, I'm looking at probably not having any other meetings until probably the last full week of October is what I think I looked at. Miss Patty, is that right? What was it? It was the Tuesday and Thursday. I'm trying to see when I can get the most people scheduled. So But I'm looking to just either have one or two more specially scheduled meetings, and then looking to use the November finance and budget meeting to have our finalization, so that we keep the additional meetings to a minimum. That would put us on track potentially to approve a budget in November, but we also, I think we don't have to pass the millage anymore in November. We could do it in November or December, but that gives us 2 months of room to be able to do the things that we have to do by December. So I think that puts us on a pretty good track. And so that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. J.P. Essery.
The Ordinance Review Committee did meet. We spent the bulk of our time on the juvenile court and juvenile court defense attorney, and we were able to get a lot accomplished, and we passed that tonight. And that's the bulk of what we did. And thank you.
All right. Any other?
I do have one final thing. They've always said that a kindergarten classroom is the best organized classroom of all classes, and if we could follow that model and help Miss Patty Burnett with putting away our toys by turning off the mouse and closing it and turning off this and unplugging it, so that way she doesn't have to pick up after us. And so if we can come up with a system just like the kindergartners do to put these computers up, I'm sure she'll appreciate it, because we appreciate all you do, Miss Burnett. Thank you.
Well,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Patty, is there anything special we need to do with these as we're leaving? Okay. Turn them off, turn them back on again. That cures everything, right? Okay. So if it would just all power them off tonight before we're done. J.P. Kicklight.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. During Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, which affects residents in my district, I imagine more than many of the residents in the county, I would encourage everybody to cooperate with each other, first and foremost, cooperate with law enforcement, and to remember to support local businesses in any way that we can. It doesn't necessarily have to be through our pocketbook, but to remember that some businesses take a hit during this time, especially businesses around the event area, and to keep those businesses in mind, and all of our residents in Washington County, especially when we welcome in so many residents across the U.S. I hope that we will all remain welcoming, friendly, and courteous, just like how we always want to be to each other, and especially to us on the court, to the residents that we serve. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Attorney Lester has a public service announcement for us.
Yes, your budget books are on the cart here. If you would pick your budget book up on your way out. I think Ms. Farber has taken the time to put your names on all of them, so each of you have one. So just wanted to remind you to do that on your way out.
J.P. Harbison.
I have an announcement. If you're down in Greenland tomorrow, we've got pulled pork sandwiches with a chip and a drink for $5 for Friends of the Greenland Library, and I'll be down there. So come get a sandwich. Thank you.
Greenland? For
At
Friends of the
Minimart.
Greenland Library. Okay. At noon o'clock, is that what you said?
Yeah, start about 11 to 3.
Okay.
One final note. I don't know if the judge wants us to let everybody know about the... Thank you. I'm looking at Ms. Harris. On the award that he is receiving in Washington, D.C., and I'm looking at the wonderful email that you sent me. And perhaps, Ms. Harris, would you mind, since you're more... Okay, I do, if you'll permit me. It's right here.
Yeah. I think she's got one.
Oops.
Is that the one on Russell Hill?
The Russell Hillism?
No.
No.
I think Russell's department received an award this.
Yes, they did, and we're very proud of that. You want to go ahead and share that while I'm looking up the email that...
I was just going to kill a second for you, not a minute.
We'll just do that. Mr. Hill, would you care to just stand up and tell us about the awards that the Washington County Assessor Office garnered this last couple of weeks?
Sure. Well, we were entered into the Arkansas Digital Transformation Awards, and so we were... Huh? Oh, up here.
Hot seat.
All right.
If it was bad news, we'd let you whisper it from back there.
Yeah.
But
now, that tends to make the front page. Scarlett. No. It's the Arkansas Digital Transformation Awards, and I don't have, but we were entered in 4 categories. One was customer service. One was digital pioneer and efficiency. Another one was business services. And then the other one was the governor's Digital Transformation Award and for our overall work in utilizing technology to bring lower costs and while increasing service. And so we were the only county of that was even mentioned there at these awards. Most of it was state departments that were receiving these awards, so they were much larger departments. So we were the only county there, and I think we also had the most mentions in what we did. So it was a very big night for Washington County and for us representing what we do here in Washington County and being on the leading edge of utilizing technology to better serve the people here and also to help try to maintain low costs and low, while still increasing our services to the people. So it was a great night for us.
And 2 of your employees that were honored alongside you?
Yeah, William Stevenson was with me, and then also we cooperated and we partnered with Data Scout, who does a lot of our online assessments and also our One Map, which those were some of the things that were honored in that and what we did. And so just the work that we did partnering with them, Morgan Smith and Philip Carper were also there representing Data Scout and also Washington County in our efforts.
Well, we're proud of you.
So, well, thank you very much.
It just makes us feel so good.
Good team we got.
Done. Okay, I found it. It was in my other email. The judge is in Washington, D.C., and he has received the Congressional Coalition on Adoption from the Adoption Institute, an award. And it says the CCAI's Angels in Adoption program honors a wide spectrum of individuals and organizations making extraordinary contributions to adoption, permanency, and child welfare. And each year, the Angel Adoption awardee travels to Washington, D.C. to both celebrate their hard work and dedication to the issues and the participation in special events designed to engage them in using their personal experience to effect change on behalf of children in need of families. And in the past, some of the recipients have been Muhammad Ali, First Lady Laura Bush, Patti LaBelle, Catherine Kegel, Jane Seymour, and so on and so on. And for his work on his life's journey and writing Joey's journey, Saving Joey, he's being recognized for this, and usually it's organizations and nonprofits that get recognized, and for an individual to be recognized is quite an accomplishment, and we're very proud of our county judge, and just wanted to share that with everybody. And I just said I'm very proud of it. And you can, if you haven't read the children's book Saving Joey, it's available wherever books are sold, and you can also buy it from Karis Publishing. It's an amazing book, but it will make you cry. It grabs your throat when you just don't realize who this person is.
Awesome.
So, thank you.
Any other business tonight? J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, all our meetings don't conclude quite this expeditiously, and I have for some time wanted us to go forward with having a consent agenda. That is where we would package the non-controversial ordinances, more or less the ones that we have no choice about, that we kind of have to pass, so we could vote on them like that. I think when we drag them out the way we have tonight, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but it does lead the public to believe that we don't really do very much, but maybe spend money or move money. And some nights we do have very substantive, debatable, controversial issues, and they need a lot of time and deserve a lot of time. So I think if in a committee, maybe especially finance comes to mind, if we would, as the committee meets, move to have those be on the agenda as a consent item, and then when the next quorum court meets, we could be much quicker about passing those items. But if anybody has an issue with one of them, if you don't want item B to be on the consent agenda, then anybody could move to have it placed on the regular agenda. It's just a way to help us operate quicker in a way to protect our time as well as the viewing public's time and the people who sit in the audience, because we have a lot of department heads, elected officials that sit here through these meetings, and I know they're thrilled to death that it takes 20 minutes to pass all the finance bills. But and I've consulted with our county attorney about this, and he thinks this is a workable plan, but if he has the additional comments, I'd like to hear them. Thank you.
Yes, so, and I shared this with J.P. Madison. My only concern was, whether or not this needed to be an all or none type thing. I'll look into this. I think it's a great idea. The only issue that leaves is if there is something that you don't want on the consent agenda, then technically I think if we remove it, we have to then set it for the next quorum court, because if we're given notice, then the public and everyone has notice of it being a consent item. If we remove it, people that want to talk about it may not be here to talk about it. So, but anyways, I'll look into that. I'll try to get an email opinion out to everyone to kind of let you know what I find and what I think.
Would it be possible to resolve those questions at the same meeting where we're putting them on the consent bundle?
Consent.
Sure.
J.P. Lundstrom.
I have a little bit of a problem with suspending the rules and moving everything to a third reading. We made a big deal out of paying Fayetteville more money to televise all of our committee meetings. We're always talking about transparency, and the main reason for the 3 readings of an ordinance is so that the general public can see it done on television and have time to get down here for the next meeting if they have a problem with the ordinance. And they don't hear enough of it in that title to know anything about what's in it. So we're not being transparent at all. We're just rushing through the meeting a little faster. So I have a problem with that. I've failed to vote no on it a time or two, but I'm speaking against it now. All of our appropriation ordinances don't have to be voted on but once anyway. Read but once. And they're critical to be passed immediately, generally, to finance things that need to be done. But these other ordinances could go the 3 readings. If there's something that needs to be done so somebody can build a house or something, the next week, then I have no problem with it. But generally, I think our ordinances should be on the 3 readings so the general public can know what's going on down here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
J.P. Bowman. I knew we were moving way too fast. We're going to get everybody in here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say thank you for our J.P. Ecke promoting this thing about the computers. I don't know how much money it'll save us versus the printing and so forth, but it sure is a lot easier to keep up with everything going on and keep it right out there so it's easy to read. So thank you, J.P. Ecke, for that suggestion and the court for getting it done. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other business? All right. I'll entertain one last motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.